Hello Anu, you are able to see the PPT and hear me also?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks Anu. I think some issue with the mic or maybe, but your thumbs up shows that okay, you are able to see me and hear me also. That's fine, perfect, thanks. So sorry for the delay, some technical glitch as again, always. And we'll start with the syllabus. Thank you. चहा पण नका द्या नेहमी सर. Yeah, so online it is working and now the streaming is also happening and both side Yeah, so Rakesh, you have also joined. So, are you able to see and hear? Anu has confirmed, but if you can just also confirm so that we can start with. Perfect, thanks. So let's begin. So I am on to the fundamentals of business and evaluations, and in that, in a way, we are covering the various aspects which are there. So today we'll start with valuation premise. In the last sessions we saw what are the fundamentals of business valuation and the purpose of business valuation also we saw elaborately. In today's session we will cover the valuation premise. So premise means the logic or the reasoning why this valuation is being done and why is it required also. So let's understand the premise of valuation. Sorry. So premise of value. What is the purpose and how it is being determined? Let's see the valuation approaches, inputs and assumptions. So the premise of value, typically the whole purpose of value is to determine how an asset or liability is used based on the valuation purpose and basis of value. So different premises of value or characteristics of value or components of value would include highest and best use, that is HABU, and that kind of acronym I'll be using often. So it's the basic highest and best use of a particular asset. So it maximizes the value, must be legally, physically and financially feasible. Then another premise of value is the current use or the existing use. So these are the factors that determine the value in a way. So current use or existing use means asset is valued in its current state, may not always be the highest value used. Third factor that determines the value is orderly liquidation. So over here, value of assets in a planned sale over a reasonable period. So what is meant by valuation? Orderly valuation is the value of assets in a planned sale over a reasonable period. So liquidation in a way, planned way, and in that scenario, whenever the liquidation happens, the value of assets is accordingly encashed by way of sale or planned sale over a reasonable period of time. Forced sale again is compelled sale under time constraints, limiting due diligence and proper marketing. So at times a particular asset is required to be sold in a hurried way also, and in such scenario, so in a way it's a forced sale, as the name suggests, it's a compelled sale under time constraints. So within a short period of time, on a immediate basis or a urgent basis, a particular asset may be required to be sold, and hence the value that get determined at under such kind of a compelling situation will be the forced sale, limiting due diligence and proper marketing. So there is no, the time constraint is so huge that the seller of the asset has no time to really make a marketing or devise a marketing strategy for getting a good price, and hence there is a limitation to the due diligence that is being thought of. And fifth premise or the factor determines the value is the going concern concept. So over here the value of a business is expected to continue operations including intangible factors. Now let's see the application. So businesses are usually valued on a going concern basis. Stressed businesses may use liquidation or forced sale premises. Tangible assets can be valued under any premise except going concern. So these are the way the application of various premises of or factors are applied in terms of sale. Transaction costs for buyers and sellers are not included in the valuation. So if you look at the entire concept in the study material itself, it's just a 1-pager or 2-pager concept as a valuation premise. So in a way, within 2-3 slides only the chapter concept per se, valuation premise as per the study material gets over. By covering the premise of value, then different premises of value, and the application of valuation or the premise value basically. However, as my practice is, I am going to cover the short question and answers which are there in the study material after the chapter gets over. So it's a 1-pager, 2-pager chapter per se of valuation premise, and below that there are short question and answers and long question and answers also. So through those short question and answers, typically the answers which are given in the study material are very short. I have tried to derive some concepts out of it, and which I am trying to explain it out over here. That's what I have decided for valuation purposes, how to present the entire PPT and the concept in the sessions. So the first short Q&A is based on the premise of value, highest and best use versus current use, existing use. So let's see HABU, that is highest and best use, what it means, how it is used, etc. So use that generates the maximum value for an asset, that is HABU. It must be viable, profitable, legally permissible. Just a second, as a ritual I am taking my evening coffee, so just bear with me for some time. that's highest and best use HABU. Then comes a current use and existing use. So we are understanding these two concepts are the basic premise of value. So current use or existing use represents the present way an asset is being utilized. So it may or may not be the most valuable or optimal use, often referred to as is where basis or as is where condition. As is where is condition. So currently whenever asset is being used, currently whatever is the value of the asset, it depends on the immediate current use or the existing use of the asset that is happening. And according to that current usage or the existing use, the value is determined. The key difference between the two concepts, that is the two premise of value, HABU and current use, are HABU aims for maximum potential value, while current use may not always fetch a maximum value. So current use may not always maximize the value. HABU considers alternative better uses, whereas current use sticks to the existing functionality. So this is in a way short explanation of what is meant by HABU and what is meant by current use, which have been answered in the short question and answer in the study material. Moving ahead to the next short question and answer. Let's see the scenarios for orderly liquidation and forced sale. So let's understand under what circumstances a particular assets set or a single asset or a set of assets are required to be liquidated or required to be forcefully sold. So orderly liquidation typically is applied when a business decides to discontinue the operation. So let's say a particular business operations are being conducted and the promoter or the investors or the owner of that particular business organization decides to close down the operations. In such situation, he may file a proper liquidation petition before the appropriate authority, that is a court of law, and in such scenario there will be an orderly process of liquidation that will be followed. And assuming it's a company, under Companies Act 2013, there is a specified process of liquidation and winding up also. And accordingly the company decides to discontinue operations, then in orderly, that's the scenario of orderly liquidation. Second characteristic is it allows a reasonable time frame to find potential buyers for those assets. So for example, a company shutting down voluntarily and selling its asset over a set period. So whenever the discontinuance of operations are being planned by the promoter or the owner, he decides a time frame that okay, within 2 months, 3 months I will sell down the entire assets of the company and close down the operations. That's what the set period is decided. So within set period, whatever way the planned manner the sale of assets can be done, because he has decided to discontinue the operations. Such situations are called as orderly liquidation. Now let's see what is meant by forced sale. So a forced sale occurs when the seller is under immediate pressure to sell. So during business operations, the circumstances may happen so way that the owner may be forced or compelled to sell the assets. So there is under immediate pressure. So the time essence is very critical. It is in immediately, and in orderly liquidation it is a planned liquidation because he has decided to discontinue over a period of time. So he can plan the liquidation accordingly. He can start selling of the assets slowly one by one, find the potential buyers, fetching the right price so as to close down before closing down the operations. However, in forced sale there will be a immediate pressure to sell. No proper marketing period or buyer due diligence can be done. So whoever comes first or whoever he feels or whoever buyers comes before him, because there is an immediate pressure, without doing proper due diligence of the buyer, the seller will have to or decides to sell the assets. That's what it is called as forced sale. So no proper marketing can be done of the asset, no advertisements can be given, or there is no time. It's not that it can't be given, but the immediate pressure is so high that the assets are required to be sold off immediately without any marketing or without doing the proper due diligence of the buyer also who is going to buy the assets when the operations are getting discontinued. Example, asset sales during bankruptcy or foreclosure or legal enforcement. So these are the three scenarios when a forced sale normally happens. So if the business gets declared as an insolvent or has filed bankruptcy under the IBC or Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, or there is a foreclosure of the joint venture under which the business operations were being done, and though the joint venture was meant for a particular project or for a particular time frame, the joint venture partners decides to close down the operations, or the joint venture gets over or gets pre-closed, then in such scenario the forced sale will have, because there is no more the joint venture need, and hence the forced sale will have to be done in terms of foreclosure of the joint venture, or else legal enforcement. Now legal enforcement situation comes when there are certain litigations that would have been filed, and certain litigation or legal disputes may be there, which in a way eventually forces to, under the code of law, to sale of the assets. So let's assume a particular business operation has secured loans, and loans were not able to be paid off, and in such scenario the asset will have to be liquidated, which has been kept as a security for that particular loan, and then it becomes a forced sale of the assets. So these are the scenarios for orderly liquidation and forced sale. So the key difference between the two scenarios are that orderly liquidation allows time. Just a second. So orderly liquidation allows time frame, because it's a planned liquidation in a way, allows time for better price realization fetching for the seller, and forced sale leads to a rush transaction, often at lower price, because it has to be at a way under stress. That sale is happening in a forced manner, or certain scenarios or situation arises wherein the asset is required to be forcefully sold. That's why it's a rush transaction. So these are the key differences between orderly liquidation and forced sale. So moving ahead, let's see what is there in the short question and answer 3. So over there, going concern as a premise of value is being considered or is being explained. So let's understand this concept. So in a way, if you really look into the session or the presentation that I have tried to cover up, the valuation premise had certain concepts, and those concepts obviously are not elaborately explained in the study material currently, for some reasons of the institute maybe. But however, through question and answer, the concept is being explained, and hence I have taken up in that mode to explain the relevant concepts. So in the short question and answer 3, the going concern as a premise of value, let's understand that. So by definition, over here in going concern, it is assumed that a business will continue the operations in the future for a relevant or a reasonable period of time. So in such situation, valuation considers the entire operational entity and not just individual assets, because the business is going to continue for a set or a longer period of time or a reasonable period of time in future, and that's why it's not a piecemeal sale of asset that is considered. The valuation considers the entire operational activity or the entire operational business. So the key factors that are considered are to train workforce to ensure smooth operations, because it's going to be there for a longer period, and hence being a going concern and the continuous operations will be happening, there are workforce that are trained to ensure smooth operations. Operational plans and infrastructure for production or services are considered. Going concern as a premise of value. So for value determination, going concern way valuation is being determined, the key factors involved are trained workforce to ensure smooth operations, operational plans and infrastructure for production or services, marketing systems and customer relationships supporting the revenue generation, and necessary licensing and procedures enabling the business continuity. So whenever going concern is considered as a premise of value, these are the factors that are to be considered for determining the valuation under going concern. That's what it means. What is the relevance of future operations? Basically, why it is relevant? Because it ensures that valuation reflects long-term sustainability, and it differs from liquidation premises where business is going to cease its operations. So there is a big difference between the liquidation and going concern concept. In liquidation, typically the business operations are going to get closed down or shut or wound up. However, in going concern, the premise of value, the operations are going to continue for a long-term sustainability. So that this is the key difference or the relevance of future operations. Then in the next question and answer, the concept of when to use going concern versus orderly liquidation as premises of value is determined. So when to use what? So the going concern premise of value is used when just a second. Sorry, this beautification at times in a hurried way remains. Sorry. So these are the factors when to use going concern and when to use orderly liquidation. Going concern is used when a business is expected to continue operating. It includes intangible assets like brand value, workforce and operational efficiency. It is appropriate for financially stable businesses or those undergoing restructuring with continuity plans. Orderly liquidation, applied when a business decides to wind up operations, allows a reasonable time to sell assets for better price fetching or realization, and is suitable for business closures, mergers or strategic asset disposals also. The key difference between the two, of course, are that the going, just a second again. Yeah. So the key difference between the two concepts are that going concern values the business as a whole and not in piecemeal assets, while orderly liquidation the values assets separately for sale. So each asset is valued separately because it's a time of liquidation. So every asset is in a way well fetched, realization is being done. Again, going concern assumes future operations, whereas orderly liquidation prepares for business cessation, so shutdown or closure. Then in short question and answer 5, the comparison of highest and best use versus going concern is being done. So these are the two different premises of value. So let's understand what is meant by HABU. HABU focuses on maximizing an asset's potential value. It evaluates alternative uses to determine the most valuable option. It must be physically possible, legally permissible and financially feasible. So these are the three main characteristics for a HABU. HABU can be fetched when it's physically possible, legally permissible and financially feasible. Such HABU is applied in real estate, redevelopment and asset reallocation. Then comes the going concern. So when going concern premise is used, it assumes a business will continue operations in the future. It considers intangible factors like brand value, workforce and operational efficiency.
It is used for valuing active businesses with ongoing revenue generation. The key differences between HABU and going concern values. Sorry, I'll be doing this in between because simultaneously the PPT becomes perfect also. So the key difference between HABU focus is that HABU focuses on individual assets while going concern values the business as a whole. HABU determines the most profitable use, whereas going concern emphasizes sustainability. And applicability wise, HABU is applicable when assessing alternative uses of land, buildings or assets to maximize the value. And in going concern when valuing a business expected to continue operations with ongoing cash flow. Then let's understand the next concept of short question and answer which is covered is the difference between orderly liquidation and forced sale. Orderly liquidation allows a reasonable period to buy or to find buyers. Seller is not under immediate pressure to sell. Assets are sold at fair market value considering the market conditions, and buyers can conduct due diligence before purchase. So in a way, these are the distinctive factors between orderly liquidation and forced sale. In forced sale, immediate necessity to sell is there, which is often due to financial distress or legal enforcement. It is limited, so there is limited or no marketing period available at all, so thereby reduces potential buyer competition, and hence fetching a right price at times become difficult because buyers are in a way not competing against each other to fetch a good value, and hence there is no potential buyer competition. Further, buyers may have restricted opportunity for due diligence also. And then lastly, forced sale often results in lower sale prices due to urgency. So because there is a time pressure, the value that is fetched for assets may be very low. Then let's look at the key differences between the two, orderly liquidation and forced sale. And the key differences can be determined on the basis of these three key aspects. Time frame. So orderly liquidation allows a planned sale, whereas forced sale happens under time constraint. So planned and unplanned in a way, or without plan. Seller's position in orderly liquidation, the seller has some control, whereas in forced sale they are compelled to sell quickly, and hence buyer has the control. Price realization, forced sales typically leads to lower prices due to urgency, and in orderly liquidation, because it's a planned sale, it fetches better prices can be fetched, and hence there are lesser chances of asset being sold at a lower price. Then in the short question and answer 7, the concept that is being covered is why going concern should not be used for valuing tangible assets. So what is the logic behind it that going concern should not be used for valuing tangible asset? Now tangible assets typically means the physical assets that are owned by the business organization. So in such scenario, the going concern considers future operations which include intangible factors like brand value, workforce and operational efficiency. Tangible assets, example land, machinery, buildings, have standalone market values independent of business continuity. Because it is a specified asset, the valuation can be immediately done on a standalone basis, independent of the concept whether the business is going to be continued or not continued. So that's a big difference between the tangible assets and intangible assets also. in going concern, because there is a possibility of future operations continuance, the existing brand value reputation will fetch value beyond a point in time, and because the business is going to continue, and hence intangible factors going concern considers future operations which include intangible factors, whereas intangible assets have standalone market values independent of whether business continuity is there or not. So applying going concern to tangible assets may overstate their value by including business related intangibles. Tangible assets are better valued using premises like HABU, best use, highest and best use valuation, orderly liquidation, or current use, which focuses on their actual market worth. Further, going concern is appropriate for valuing an entire business, not individual physical assets. So these are the characteristics. So depending on the characteristics of the premise of value, it is being applied for the respective kind of asset that is being sold. Now let's look into the long question and answers that are being there in the study material after the chapter. So in the long question and answer number 1, the concept of highest and best use, HABU versus current use, has been discussed. So highest and best use, again, maybe because short answer and long answer to some extent are overlapping, there will be some repetition of the concepts also. So HABU, in HABU, the use that results in the highest possible value for an asset must be physically possible, legally permissible, and financially feasible. It focuses on maximizing potential value rather than maintaining current functionality. In current use or existing use, it refers to the present way an asset is being utilized, may or may not align with HABU, does not necessarily optimize value but reflects its as-is condition. Example, to understand this HABU and current use, a vacant warehouse in a prime city location. So current use will be used as a storage facility generating minimal revenue, and HABU will be redeveloping it into a commercial complex or high-rise apartments to maximize the land value. So this is how the HABU and current use can be well understood by way of this example of a vacant warehouse. So if the highest and best use of that asset, which is the warehouse, is to be done, and the land on which the warehouse is being or is standing or is constructed, then maybe the HABU for that particular asset would be redeveloping that entire land or the warehouse into a commercial complex or a high-rise apartment to maximize the land value which is there. And in case of current use, at the most the current warehouse which is vacant will be put to use for storage facility, whereby certain minimal revenue generation can be done. So this is the example of current use, which is the immediate use that can be put of the warehouse is to use as a storage facility, maybe on rent or some commercial basis, and fetch a minimal rental value out of it. Sorry, so this is a question number 2 of the long question and answers that have been given in the study material. Yeah. So the long question and answer is number 2 has a concept of difference between orderly liquidation and forced sale. So the pointers that can be considered for writing such answers would be: forced sale includes seller is under immediate pressure to sell, limited marketing time, often leading to a lower sale price, and buyers may have adequate opportunity for due diligence. And such forced sale is suitable for bankruptcy or foreclosure situations where assets must be liquidated quickly. And secondly, court order sales or auctions due to legal enforcement. The key difference between the
पेपर टाकूच. So IoT is starting from tomorrow. First step. Timing? Daily. Till mid-April. Perfect. Date free. Yeah. So there is this. Including Sundays. Okay, Anu and Rakesh, there is an announcement from the Pimpri chapter. So the chairman, Mr. Sagar, had just come and told me to announce this also. So from 1st April, the Internet of Things, that is IoT, sessions are going to happen from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. from 1st April to 12th April. Whether it's including Sundays or not, that will be told as and when the sessions will start. So on day basis, it will be told to you. So just keep a note of that. Because you are online, I have been told immediately to convey it to you. There will be a proper message also that will be sent on the group about this. So for the timing, just note down 8 to 10 IoT from 1st April to 12th April. Which mode, online, offline, etc. will be, you can raise the points on your group and you will get the answers from the chapter. So this is how the announcement is all about. So just make a note of it. Thanks. So continuing with this, in a way, yeah. So orderly liquidation, seller has a reasonable time frame to find buyers. Assets are sold on an as-is where-is basis, but without extreme urgency, and allows for better price realization due to market exposure. And such situation is, or such premise of value is used when or suitable for a company winding down operations and selling its asset over time, and a business restructuring its non-core assets without financial distress. So for sale, seller is under immediate pressure to sell. Limited marketing time often leading to a lower sale price. Buyers may have an inadequate opportunity for due diligence. Now this is suitable for bankruptcy or foreclosure situations where assets must be liquidated quickly, or in the scenario where court order sales or auctions are being legally enforced by the court of law. The key difference therefore between orderly liquidation is that it allows time to find a fair price, whereas in forced sale it is rushed, often resulting in a lower valuation. In long question and answer 3, most suitable premise of value for an operational business under stress. So let's understand which is the most suitable premise of value for an operational business under stress. The appropriate premise is liquidation premise, orderly or forced is most suitable. Going concern may not apply if the business is unlikely to continue the operations, obviously, because it's a under stress sale is being thought, and as a matter of fact, though operational business under stress, it may or may not be continued, and hence going concern is very unlikely to be applied for. While liquidation or forced sale is a appropriate premise is basically if the business has time to sell assets, orderly liquidation allows for better price realization. Secondly, if the business must sell immediately, forced sale is applied, leading to a quicker but often lower value sale. So continuing with the appropriate premises, the example scenario, just to give a clarity about what the concept is. A company facing insolvency may opt for orderly liquidation to repay the creditors. A bankrupt business under legal enforcement may undergo a forced sale of assets. And the key considerations over here is the level of financial distress and urgency determines whether orderly liquidation or forced sale is to be used. So depending on the scenario, situation of a particular business, the sense of urgency, or again the legal enforcement and the legal time frame that has been set, all these will determine whether to adopt a orderly liquidation or a forced sale as a premise for valuing a operational business under stress. And of course, because the business is under stress, it is unlikely to continue with the business operations,
and hence going concern as a premise might not be of any use. Then comes the long question and answer 4, wherein valuation of a 25-year-old underutilized machinery based on different premises of value. So how our 25-year-old underutilized machinery can be valuation can be done based on the different premises of value. So let's see each one of it. So in case of HABU, the value based on its most profitable potential use. Example, if the machinery can be refurbished and repurposed for a higher demand industry, its value may be higher. Current use, existing use, that is value based on its current underutilized condition, because it is all about as is, where is basis. Since it is not being used efficiently, its value may be lower than HABU. Because we are evaluating different premises of value for a 25-year-old underutilized asset, machinery, how the valuation can be done. In case of orderly liquidation, the value based on what it could fetch in a planned sale over a reasonable period is the orderly liquidation of the 25-year-old underutilized machinery. Example, selling it to a used equipment dealer or auction with a adequate marketing. This could be the way the orderly liquidation can be done for such kind of a underutilized asset. In forced sale, value valued based on a hurried sale scenario likely fetch a lower price. So if the company is in urgent financial distress, the machinery might be sold quickly at a discounted price. Then in the long question and answer number 5, the concept and valuation implications of the going concern premise of value has been discussed. So let's see what it means. So definition wise, the going concern assumes that the business will continue operations in the future. It values the business as an ongoing entity rather than just its individual assets. So it's a block sale of assets in a way rather than individual assets. The key valuation factors involves intangible elements, that is trained workforce, brand value, customer relationships and operational efficiency are the intangible elements which are determining the valuation efforts or factors also. Then the market positions, so stability, competitive advantage and revenue generating ability of that particular business also will determine the valuation. And overall the financial health, it is applied when the business is not under financial distress. So continuing with that, the implications of going concern are enhances overall business value beyond just physical assets, used in mergers, acquisitions and investment evaluation. Lastly, if a business is in financial distress, this premise may not be appropriate and liquidation or forced sale may be applied instead. Then let's look into the long question and answer, that is 6. The best premise of value for a bargain deal on loss-making tech startup. So in a way, these are various examples or use case scenario or basis which the appropriate best premise of value can be fetched and or is being determined. So what is the best premise of value for a bargain deal on a loss-making tech startup? So because it's more of a forced sale premise, it provides a bargain deal as the seller is under pressure to sell quickly. Urgency may lead to a lower valuation, allowing buyers to purchase at a discount. And the considerations over here will be, while the price may be low, the startup's future potential should be evaluated. If the business has strong growth prospects, a going concern valuation might reflect a higher long-term value. The best approach for buyers in such scenario would be negotiate under a forced sale premise to secure a lower price, assess whether the business can be turned around for profitability, and consider risks such as market conditions, technology, viability and competition also. So again, as I said, this is a very small chapter and in a way we are almost concluding the session. However, I'll recap what we have understood in this entire session in a quick manner. So the chapter is all about the module of 5, which is a fundamental of business valuations. In that, we were looking into the valuation premise or various premises of value. In that, we saw what is premises of value means determination of how an asset or liability is used based on the valuation purpose and basis of value. That was the whole premise of value. Different premises of value which that we saw were HABU, that is highest and best use, wherein maximum value is being fetched, and such value can be fetched provided the asset is legally, physically and financially feasible. Current use or existing use, over here asset is valid in its current state, may not be always the highest value use. Sorry. So the third premise is orderly liquidation. So in a planned manner, a planned sale over a period of time. Fourth is the forced sale, which is a compelled sale under time constraints and limiting due diligence and proper marketing. Going concern, over here value of business is expected to continue operations including intangible factors. Then we saw the various applications. So businesses are usually valued on a going concern basis. Stress businesses are always valued on the liquidation or wholesale premise. Tangible assets can be valued under any premise except going concern. So this everyone has to keep in mind, that intangible assets, because they can be sold off immediately on as is where is basis, and hence going concern may not be applicable. And current use or highest use can be thought of. The transaction costs for buyers and sellers are not included in such valuations. So over here, through short and long question and answers, we will try to understand, rather we have understood the various concepts, because not much elaborately has been given in the study material. But in a way I have tried to clear the concept. So one was the HABU. We saw what is HABU, wherein the maximum value based on the uses that generates the maximum value of an asset must be viable, profitable, legally permissible and feasible, and it focuses on optimizing value rather than just maintaining current use. Current use and existing use represents the present way of an asset being utilized, may or may not be the most valuable or optimal use. Please excuse me, because while live streaming is happening on YouTube, I am having my coffee and tea and biscuits as such. But it's evening time and I'm feeling hungry also, so at times I have this luxury to consume tea and coffee also. And luckily the institute is providing so that's why I'm having Then we saw the key difference between HABU. So HABU aims for maximum potential value, highest and best use, and accordingly the value to be found or fetched. Current use may not always maximize the value because it's immediate as is where is basis. HABU considers alternative better uses etc., and hence there could be a maximization of value, whereas current use sticks to the existing functionality of the particular asset. Then we saw orderly liquidation, wherein it is applied when a business decides to discontinue the operations, allows a reasonable time frame to find potential buyers because it's a planned sale. For example, a company shutting down voluntarily and selling its asset over a set period. Forced sale occurs when the seller is under immediate pressure to sell. No proper marketing period or buyer due diligence. Example, asset sales during bankruptcy, foreclosure or legal enforcements. The key difference between orderly liquidation is that it allows time for better price realization, and forced sale leads to a rush transaction often at the lower price. Then we elaborately saw which are the factors that determine the going concern as a premise of value. So over here it is assumed that a business will continue operations in the future, and hence valuation considers the entire operational entity rather than just individual assets. So no piecemeal asset sale, but entire business as a whole is valued, and accordingly the realization is done of the entire business asset, or the valuation is being done of the entire business assets. The key factors that are considered is the trained workforce, ensuring smooth operations, operational plants and infrastructure for production of services, marketing systems and customer relations. Because it's a going concern business, it has all these characteristics of that the business operations are being continued. So continued operations are being thought, and hence there is a trained manforce, operational plants and infrastructure, marketing systems and customer relationships are there which are supporting the revenue generation, and necessary licenses, approvals and procedures enabling the business continuity. So all the factors of business continuity are being valued and determined or given importance, and accordingly the valuation is being done in such kind of going concern as a premise of value. The relevance of future operations, because the business is going to continue as is, where is basis, or maybe in an improved fashion also. So there is a future potential that is there, and hence the relevance of future operations enables the existing asset or a business to fetch more and more value, and that's how the maximization of value can be done in a going concern. So this differs from liquidation premises, where business ceases to operations, because in liquidation the business is going to close down or cease, and hence there is no future left, and hence the value will be obviously not fetching maximum value, and maybe a forced liquidation will have to be done, and the business typically then doesn't fetch more value. Then we saw when to use going concern versus orderly liquidation as a premise of value. So going concern is used when a business is expected to continue operating. It includes intangible assets like brand valuation, workforce and operational efficiency as such. Operates or appropriate for financially stable businesses or those undergoing restructuring with continuity plans. Orderly liquidation applied when a business decides to wind up operations, allows a reasonable time to sell assets for better price realization, and suitable for business closures, mergers or strategic asset disposals. The key difference between the two: going concern values the business as a whole, while orderly liquidation values assets separately for sale. Going concern assumes future operations, whereas orderly liquidation prepares for business cessation. Then we saw the comparison of highest and best use versus going concern. So HABU focuses on maximizing an asset's potential value. It evaluates alternative uses to determine the most valuable option. Must be physically possible, legally permissible and financially feasible. Applied in real estate redevelopment or asset reallocation. Going concern assumes a business will continue operations in the future,
It considers intangible factors like brand value, workforce and operational efficiency, and used for valuing active businesses with ongoing revenue generation. The key difference between the two: HABU focuses on individual assets while going concern values the business as a whole. HABU determines the most profitable use, whereas going concern emphasizes sustainability. And applicability wise, HABU, when you are assessing alternative uses of land, buildings or assets to maximize the value, and going concern when valuing a business expected to continue operations with ongoing cash flow. Difference between orderly liquidation and forced sale that we saw: orderly liquidation allows a reasonable period to find buyers. Seller is not under immediate pressure. Seller is not under immediate pressure to sell. Assets are sold at fair market value considering market conditions, and buyers can conduct due diligence before purchase. Forced sale: immediate necessity to sell, often due to financial distress or legal enforcement. Limited or no marketing period, reducing potential buyer competition. Buyers may have restricted opportunity for due diligence, often results in lower sale prices due to urgency. The key difference between the two are determined on the aspects of time frame, where orderly liquidation allows for a planned sale and hence there can be a prescribed time frame, whereas forced sale happens under time constraints. Seller's position: in orderly liquidation the seller has some control, while in forced sale they are compelled to sell quickly. And price realization: forced sales typically lead to lower prices due to urgency. Then we saw why going concern should not be used for valuing tangible assets. Going concern considers future operations which include intangible factors like brand value, workforce and operational efficiency. Tangible assets, example land, machinery, buildings, have standalone market values and hence independent of business continuity. Applying going concern to tangible assets may overstate their value by including business related intangibles. Tangible assets are better valued using premises like HABU, orderly liquidation or current use, which focuses on their actual net market worth. And going concern is appropriate for valuing an entire business, not individual physical assets. Then again, concept of HABU. So in HABU, the use that results in the highest possible value for an asset must be physically possible, legally permissible and financially feasible. Legally permissible means at times certain assets has their legal life as such. So beyond a particular life as legally permitted, the asset cannot be put to use. That's what over a period of time the practice gets set for a particular industry, and hence it's in a way the highest and best use of an asset may get restricted because of the legally permissible age as such. Focuses on maximizing potential value rather than maintaining current functionality. Current use, that is existing use, refers to the present way an asset is utilized, may or may not align with HABU, does not necessarily optimize value but reflects its as is condition. Example wise, a vacant warehouse in a prime city location, current use will be that at the most this warehouse can be used for storage facility or maybe some kind of a functional hall or cultural events, auditorium, etc., etc., and generate thereafter therefrom minimal revenue, rentals, etc. Or HABU, highest and alternate based use, can be that the entire land which is being there on which the warehouse has been constructed, that warehouse itself can be converted or redeveloped into a commercial complex or depending on the developmental aspects, high-rise apartments, thereby maximizing the land value. Then we saw the difference between orderly liquidation and forced liquidation. Orderly liquidation includes seller has a reasonable time frame to find buyers. Assets are sold on a as-is, where-is basis without extreme urgency, allows for better price realization due to market exposure. Suitable for a company winding down operations and selling its asset over time. A business restructuring its non-core assets without financial distress. For sale, seller is under immediate pressure to sell, limited marketing time often leading to a lower sale price. Buyers may have adequate opportunity for due diligence, suitable for bankruptcy or foreclosure situations where assets must be liquidated quickly. court order sales or auctions due to legal enforcement. The key difference between the two will be orderly liquidation allows time to find the fair price while forced sale is rushed, often resulting in an lower valuation. Most suitable premise of value for an operational business under state, we found that appropriate premise would be liquidation premise, orderly or forced is most suitable. Going concern may not apply if the business is unlikely to continue operations. Why liquidation of wholesale? Because if the business has time to sell assets, orderly liquidation allows for better price realization. If the business must sell immediately, forced sale is applied, leading to a quicker but often lower value sale. For example, a company facing insolvency may opt for orderly liquidation to repay the creditors. A bankrupt business under legal enforcement may undergo forced sale of assets. The key consideration overall which premise to be used depends on the level of financial distress. Urgency determines whether whether orderly liquidation or forced sale is to be used. Then we saw the valuation of a 25-year-old underutilized machinery based on different premises of value. So for such kind of a aged machinery, the HABU will involve value based often on its most profitable potential use. Example, if the machinery can be refurbished or repurposed for a high demand industry, its value may be higher. Current use, existing use, value based on its current and underutilized condition. Since it is not being used efficiently, its value may be lower than the HABU. Orderly liquidation. So valued based on what it could fetch in the planned sale over a sale reasonable time. Example, selling it to a used equipment dealer or auctioning it with adequate marketing. For sale, value based on with a hurried sale scenario, likely fetching a lower price. Example, if the company is in urgent financial distress, the machinery might be sold quickly at a discounted price. Then we saw the concept and valuation implications of the going concern premise of value. In that definition wise, going concern assumes the business will continue operations in the future. It values the business as an ongoing entity rather than just its individual assets. The key valuation factors involves intangible elements like trained workforce, brand value, customer relationship and operational efficiency. Market positioning involves stability, competitive advantage and revenue generating ability. Financial health applied when the business is not under financial distress. Implications on the going concern premise are that it enhances the overall business value beyond just physical assets. Used in mergers, acquisitions and investment evaluations. If a business is in financial distress, this premise may not be appropriate and liquidation or forced sale may apply instead. Now let's understand. Thereafter we understood the best premise of value for a bargain deal on a loss-making tech startup. So forced sale premise will provide a bargain deal as a seller is under pressure to quick sell. Urgency may lead to a lower valuation, allowing buyers to purchase at a discount. Considerations will be while the price may allow or may be low, the startup's future potential should be evaluated. If the business has strong growth prospects, so going concern valuation might reflect a higher long-term value. The best approach for buyer of such kind of a loss-making tech startup would be negotiate under the forced sale premise to secure a lower price, assess whether the business can be turned around for profitability because it's a loss-making currently, and consider risks such as market conditions, technological viability and competition overall before cracking the deal or bargain deal of a loss-making tech startup. So with this we come to an end of the session also, the chapter also. So Anu or Rakesh, do you have anything to be asked, value added or added as a concept to this? Any questions, doubts that you have? Can we close the session in that sense, Anu, Rakesh? Perfect. Just to repeat the announcement which was told to be done by the Pimpri chapter. The IoT sessions are going to start from 1st April till 12th April, every morning 8 am to 10 am. So that's what the announcement will also be flashed on the or message on the group, or else you can reach out to the chapter coordinator for the information suitably required.
So we'll stop here since you don't have any queries, Rakesh and Anu. I hope you have benefited from this session, and again, as I said, this can act as a quick study notes for your exam orientation perspective, and in a way I have tried to give the PPTs in such fashion that it can act as a study notes or a quick summary crash course notes for the entire chapter also. So signing off here, Pushkaraj Vishnu Doshi. See you in the next session with the new chapter, and what will be that chapter will be, let's see. So I am going with the sequence that is there in the study material itself. So valuation approaches. So let's understand. So typically there are 3 or 4 valuation approaches that are normally adopted. We'll go through each of them and in the next session. So signing off here. Thanks Rakesh and Anu. See you in the next session.